How to round numbers in Excel. Let me take you through various basic rounding examples, as well as specific cases of rounding for business use, such as retail pricing or timesheets. Here's the first example. We want to simplify this number here, $12,345, with 5 decimals that have the values 67890. The easiest way to get this to 2 decimals, while displaying the number in the same cell, is to go to the Home tab of Excel, in the Numbers section of the ribbon, right here in the middle, clicking Decrease Decimal as many times as you need. We now have the number displayed with 2 decimals. You can go 2 steps further in decreasing decimals to get to a whole number, or integer, and that's as far as the Decrease Decimal button will take you. Want to expand the displayed number of decimals again? Click Increase Decimal. Alternatively, you can right-click on the cell, go to Format Cells, Number, and select the number of decimal places you like. What you are doing here is formatting a cell to display a number as rounded, while you retain the original value. You change the presentation of the number, not the number itself. If you multiply the number, for example you multiply by 2, you continue to work with the original number in your Excel workbook. Rounding works differently. It is not just a change in how you display a value, you actually change the value. Rounding means replacing a number with an approximate value that has a shorter, simpler, or more explicit representation, and in Excel this happens in a different cell. Let's round to 2 decimals first. Go to the Insert Function dialog box on the Home tab of your Excel sheet, type Round, click Go, and a list of functions related to rounding shows up, some of which we will discuss in this video. Once you understand the key function we use in this video, have a look around at some of the more exotic functions in the list. We start with the first one, round. We want to round the number in cell B3 to 2 decimals. Let me display this formula using formula text. Now when we multiply this rounded number by 2, we are multiplying the rounded number, not the original value. Let me display both cell B3 as well as B5 with 5 decimals. And you will see the difference. I can round to 2 decimals, but still display 5 decimals. We can use the same formula to round to a whole number or integer. In that case, we want the number of decimals to be 0. The Excel round function follows the rules of mathematics. Round up for 0.5 or higher, and round down below 0.5. We can do a lot more with the round function and its cousins. For example, if we want to have multiples of 10, then we set the number of digits to -1. In our example, this rounds to 12,350. If we want to have multiples of 100, set the number of digits to -2. In our example, this rounds to 12,300. Multiples of 1,000, which is common in a lot of financial reporting, set the number of digits to -3. In our example, this rounds to 12,000. If we want to do cash rounding to the nearest 5 cents, which is the smallest coin denomination in many countries, then we need the mRound function, which returns a number rounded to the desired multiple, in our case 0.05. If we want to bypass the default rounding rules of rounding up for 5 or higher and rounding down for numbers below 5, then the Excel functions round up and round down are what we need. Round up always rounds up, away from 0, to the number of decimals you need. Let's round up to a whole number. Round down always rounds down, towards 0, to the number of decimals you need. Let's round down to a whole number. For any of these rounding operations, remember that when we multiply the rounded number by 2, we are multiplying the rounded number, not the original value, which can lead to very different outcomes based on how you round it. For example, compare the outcomes in rows 8 and 10, just to build your awareness that rounding should be approached with caution. A practical use of rounding numbers in Excel for business use is retail pricing. How do we get the retail price to always end in 99 cents? Let's work with the cost numbers in column A and calculate the 25% markup for them in column B. The markup gets bigger in absolute value if the cost is bigger. Cost plus markup in column C is the sum of the numbers in column A and column B. These numbers in column C all need to get rounded up to the next 99 cents in column D. We simply use the ROUNDUP function, no decimals, and deduct 1 cent from it. Let me display this formula using formula text. Let's copy down the formula for all the products. In column F, we can now calculate the additional markup that was applied by rounding up from the cost plus markup number to the next 99 cents. This additional markup is obviously always smaller than $1. When comparing column F to column B, you will notice that for some of the lower cost items, the additional markup is relatively large compared to the cost-based markup of 25%. Another practical use of rounding numbers in Excel is timesheets. Let's first discuss timesheets in the context of payroll. Total time worked for the day is in column C, which equals end time in column B minus start time in column A. We want to round time neutrally in column D to the nearest 15 minutes, in such a way that it benefits both the employer and the employee to an equal extent. In other words, an additional 1 through 7 minutes gets rounded down, while an additional 8 through 14 minutes gets rounded up. The mRound function is what we need here. For the first line item, we want to mRound cell C4 to the next 15 minutes, which we input as quotation mark 0, colon, 15, quotation mark. Copy this for all cells and have a look at the formula in column E. As rows 6 and 8 show, both the case of 6 minutes over and that of 6 minutes under get rounded to a full 8 hours. Timesheets can also be used for billing consultancy, help desk or maintenance work to clients. In that case, the contract or SLA might specify that each case is billed at a minimum of 15 minutes, with longer cases rounded up to the next multiple of 15 minutes. Column C has the raw data of minutes per case, calculated as end time minus start time, which we need to round in column B. The Excel formula that does the job here is the ceiling function. For the first line item, we want to get the ceiling for cell C4 to the next 15 minutes, which we input as quotation mark 0, colon, 15, quotation mark. A case of 29 minutes gets billed as 30 minutes, 9 minutes as 15, 1 hour 32 minutes as 1 hour 45 minutes, and 1 hour as 1 hour. If you want to go into the opposite direction, rounding down to 15 minutes increments, then the opposite of ceiling is floor, which you can find in the suggested list of related functions in the round family.